Okay, so my name is Tanya Vacarda, and today we're going to be talking about a slightly different type of anomaly detection. Today I'm going to talk to you about cryptocurrency romance scam and manipulation tactics that those fraudsters and scammers use to lure their victims into huge money losses. So let me just move on to the next slide. So I'm Tanya Vacarda. I've been working in cybersecurity delivery for the last 7 years. And what you need to know today is that my interest in cybersecurity human factor is particular focus on social engineering, fraud, and emerging technology products. And if you can take anything from this list of everything that I do, another important thing that I need to highlight today is that my educational background is in philology and linguistics, comparative analysis, and narrative analysis, because we're going to be doing a lot of this today, so there'll be messages from the conversations I had with scammers. So I'm single, so I use dating apps. And of course, from time to time, I come across fraudulent personas, but they're usually very easy to spot because they use a lot of heavy love bombing, so it's straight away. But last April, I connected with Daryl, a charming 34-year-old man who works in the property business, has a side hustle as a market trading consultant, lives just outside London, and loves skiing, working out, reading, traveling, just like I do. Daryl was very consistent, very respectful, and supportive. In fact, no dirty messaging at all, which is, a huge refreshment in the field of dating apps. No ghosting whatsoever. Quite the opposite. He was texting day and night. He literally wrapped me in his attention. And so I knew there was something very wrong going on. So Daryl is a cryptocurrency fraudster, or most likely a group of fraudsters. And unlike other fraudsters I came across, he was quite good at what he was doing. And it just happened so that a week from that time, I was to speak at the NICE panel on the topic of social engineering. So I thought that was amazing case coming my way. So I jumped into this opportunity, engaged in about a week-long pseudo-romance, learning about his tactics and just trying to see how exactly he's going to try and manipulate me into engaging into that cryptocurrency scam. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit about what cryptocurrency romance scam is. So basically, fraudsters manipulate their victims to create accounts on fake online trading platforms where they're made to believe that they engage in trading activities for weeks, even months, until eventually they're manipulated to transfer their funds into the fraudsters' accounts. And in the last few years, I've been increasingly targeting their victims on dating apps, engaging in pseudo-romances for days, weeks, even months sometimes. And a few facts. In 2022, the National Fraud Intelligence Bureau received over 8,000 romance fraud reports, amounting to the total of over £92 million in losses. The following year, 2023, Lloyds Bank research showed 30% increase in romance scam compared to the previous year, with men now being making the majority of the victims. And people aged between 65 and 74 are more likely to be tricked into this scam for obvious reasons. And the average sum of losses per person is about just over 13,000. However, there are cases where people were defrauded for £150,000. And some have lost all of their pension savings. So without further ado, I would like to share with you my insights into romance scam manipulation tactics. And you see there is a little FBI sign. So as I promised, there are a lot of techniques that they use that are used by FBI agents, negotiation agents. Also, very good salespeople use same techniques, and any other manipulator will be using them as well. So we're going to start with the most obvious, love bombing. It's sign number one. Love bombing is an emotional manipulation technique that uses heavy, consistent, and persistent demonstrations of affection and attention. For example, compliments and declarations of feelings. However, scammers like Daryl, and it's Daryl and Co, really, because there are more people than just one, but I'm going to call him Daryl, are much more experienced. So they would start very lightly because they don't want to push that target away. So his love bombing was different. First of all, it was constant check-ins and checkups and constant messaging. He would always text me in the morning, like on a dot o'clock, 7 to 8 a.m. And then he would pick from 4 p.m. until very late night. He was always available, whether he was in a gym or cooking or on a walk, he would text me, and he made sure that I knew he was available for me. And that goes along with constant unnecessary evidence of his routine activities, like snippets of video or images like this one that he sent to me from the party, assumably, that he attended. Is almost like a proof that he's real and he's doing it. Again, you can't validate any of this. And that goes along with the third moment, constant reassurance of his interests and feelings. So on day one, he started very lightly and was fine, but there are some messages. I don't know, guys, can you read them? Can you see? Right. So I'm going to read for those who are at the back. So on day 5, he said me, I hope to age with you gracefully. I don't mind if you did, but to me you have and looked so organic and natural, blah, blah, blah. Basically on day 5, he was ready to spend his whole life with me. So that's one of the elements of love bombing. Here we go. And what it does, right? So it's subtle, but it's consistent and persistent. If you don't suspect Darrell to be a scammer, you might just really think that he's really into the person he's talking to. And that's what fraudsters want their targets to believe when they wrap them with this attention eventually. And that goes along with reality manipulation, constant reality manipulation. Fraudsters will try to manipulate the perception of reality with, by creating a picture of perfect romance. They do it in several ways, and because it's all digital, so it's all messaging. So one thing that Darrell and Co did, they started introducing words and concept of bonding and togetherness. He used heavily in almost every message words like together, we, partners, team. For example, you're very lucky indeed. We are both lucky to have connected and it's worth it. Or then in a few days, what are partners for? We cope and embrace each other, and so on and so on. And then another message, and the willingness for togetherness and support that comes through engaging in each other's passions, and so on. They constantly drop those hook words to lead their victims to get used to that idea. In parallel, they introduce the idea that this connection is very special. There is some uniqueness to this bond with the use of words like unique, special, different, meaningful. At the same time, normalizing it. So he will say things like normal, always, creating this long-term partnership idea. So here's a message. He said, you're special and every day feels like a new chapter for me. I feel different with you, so normal and happy. Different and normal and happy in the same sentence. And that was pretty much every day. Several of those hook words would appear throughout all of our communication. Third one, it always goes with this tactical labeling. Tactical labeling is a technique basically that names the feelings, emotions, and thoughts of another person with the purpose of either resolving them or reinforcing them. Tactical labeling is naming the feelings and thoughts that you want and wish the other person to feel. So he would say, I want you to feel normal and be yourself to me, with me. Or he would say, it's just so normal in the fact that we are genuine with each other and we are open. Well, I didn't feel this way, I didn't think this way, but that constant reinforcement of this themes, bonding, togetherness, this connection is special, ultimately creates a narrative that there is a very special, unique connection going on based on mutual understanding. Winning together message. And what it does over time when it's repeated consistently is that the victim will eventually start adopting this perception of reality as a shared experience, which in our minds builds a feeling of familiarity and safety. So if we would talk about building bonding and connection, the best way to do that is with the use of empathy. Tactical empathy is the term introduced by Chris Voss, the former FBI agent, and he wrote an amazing book about Never Split the Difference. He calls tactical empathy as the act of understanding another person's mindset and feelings and making them feel understood. Now, any manipulator and fraudsters use empathy heavily, and they use it in two ways. So, Darrell and Co started with empathizing with me. So, early on, they will introduce concepts like care, support, protection, unconditional love, and present himself as this carer, love provider role. In every context and comment, he would just drop something like, I'll be there for you as you grow to bigger heights. All I want to see you win and achieve your dreams, like said outside context. So that was really funny one. And then he would say, we would talk about gym and routine, and he would just drop, I'll be your personal trainer and we'll train together, and all of those things. So kind of very subtle things, but they repeat all the time and constantly. And they will also try to make that target to empathize with them. triggering the victim's inner hero or inner healer syndrome, so to say. And the logic here is very simple. Everyone wants to be needed and appreciated. And when this feeling in us is constantly reinforced, then a target or victim can develop emotional attachment to the source of these feelings, which gives the fraudsters a leverage over the victim to further manipulate them into what they want to do. The way Daryl and Co. did it is with introducing some tragic stories from his past life. I'm going to read it to you because, well, that's funny. So, yeah, obviously he divorced, fell out of love. At some point, she went stray with the best friend, so wife cheating on with his best friend, classic. And that's how I ended the relationship. We had a baby by the name Camila, excessive detail, but she passed on after birthday, early girl that died. So since then, I have been looking after myself, took a year to heal, but my daughter still in my heart. And what they do, straight after they introduce these little stories where they want you to empathize with them, they will hint that you are the source of their love and healing. You are what they need, and they will reinforce it. So that kind of create this bonding and connection. He immediately texted me, you gave me that spark of feeling wanted and wanting someone after a very long time. So tactical empathy is extremely efficient techniques because it achieves two goals. First, it strengthens the emotional bond between two people. And second, it also allows the user or fraudster manipulator gather information about that target. It allows them to build emotional profile and also fine-tune this perfect partner image that they will reflect back at the victim. And I also want to, I don't know guys if you can see that second line where he dropped, you gave me that spark of feeling wanted someone after a very long time, full stop. This is a very tactical sentence because if the person has started to develop, their target has started to develop emotional connection, most likely they will respond with reciprocate with similar feelings. Sounds like me too, I feel this way. And they will reciprocate with a similar painful experience from their past life if there is one. And that's exactly what fraudsters want. They fish out for this information. So moving on to next one, we're getting close to target profiling or tactical information gathering. So romance fraudsters always look for signs of recent or past trauma, emotional psychological wounds, and unfulfilled emotional needs. They do it in several ways if you're talking about all this digital romance. So there will be questions, obviously, very easy way. They will ask questions about the past, family, social surrounding, and it's hard to detect, right? Because you might think they're just interested in me. No, they're really interested in your past traumas, in your wounds. Basically what they're probing for, how single are you? How long have you been single? Have you lost a loved one recently? Do you have a strong social network support or not? Right? How much do you want to be in a relationship? Are you ready to do anything? Are you ready to trust me just because you want to be in a relationship? Because they're not Daryl never asked me about my work, my job, what I do, even when I dropped hooks and hints. Unless he is interested in how much money you make, so they know how much they can steal from you. They're not going to ask you questions. And next one, again, tactical labeling to test your reactions. So what they do, and that happened quite often with Daryl and Co., they would drop unprovoked statements like, I know you've been hurt in the past, or feel you've been hurt in the past, and here you need to look out for words wound, pain, suffer, hurt. They would say that and wait for my reaction. Let's say if there is a person who's been just recently hurt, came out of very bad relationship or breakup or was cheated on, most likely that feeling will be triggered. They will jump into it and reveal their story. And that's again what fraudsters are looking for. Here is an example. We were having a fun conversation about ice cream and things, and suddenly he said, I'm not difficult to understand, because I said, well, I struggle understanding you. I said, you just have been hurt a lot before and I want to mend and repair that wound. Again, offering his protection. Another technique that works really well in terms of building bonding and connection with someone quickly is mirroring. And Daryl and Co. used it a lot, and it's another FBI tactic. Basically, mirroring is mimicking the other person's verbal and nonverbal language, their behavior, tone of voice, posture, and even preferences and likes. And what it does, it creates that sense of similarity, sameness, likeliness, right? And psychologically, we all like and trust something that resembles us. So it builds, again, this sense of familiarity and safety over time. With Darrell, he used language mirroring a lot. Basically, he would just use my own words to reply back to me. I would say, I get a feeling you're a family man. I say, yes, I'm a family man. I'll say, I wonder if you like it. I say, I will like it, babe. Or what about you? Are you the one to bring breakfast to bed? And he says, yes, I have that weakness. Yes, I am the type. So it's pretty much like mirroring. Whatever you want to hear, they will say that. And he also mirrored my preferences. This is much more subtle, and they use it a lot. So all that information gathering that they get from the victim, all the scammers keep their fact sheets. So they know what you mentioned before, and they will reflect it back to you, right, in the dialogue or from the fact sheet. So here is a snippet of conversation we're talking about. He asked me about preferences, where I like to live, city or nature, Barcelona and so on. I said, I just need to have access to the greenery and the sea or natural lake. I need that peace. He responded straight away, I don't like the city a lot because I don't get that peace. They are, but the nature is part as what missing in them. Nature is generally good and blissful, blah, blah, blah. He just literally reinforced, confirming that, yes, I'm like you. I like nature and I like cities. And then he said, I would love to be surrounded by mountains and a lake. For a moment, I thought that last statement was genuine. I was thinking, oh my God, that's what I love. Until I remembered that 2 days before, I sent him a picture of the Belfast log with Belfast hills, because that's the image from my home. So they kept it on file and they reverted back to you. So there is some, if there is too much preference mirroring, it's not normal. So watch out for this one. And lastly, they will start weaving their own agenda into the conversation over days, in a way that kind of normalizes the thought of getting into this cryptocurrency fraud activity with a complete stranger. They do it in several ways. They always disguise it as help and support. And that might be a very big mission statement. It can be even in the profile description. He's a man on a mission, save poverty, or he might share it early on. So listen to that one. On day one, when we were talking about it, he just dropped, well, I'm passionate about helping other people in life and have the ability to eliminate poverty and attain financial freedom. That's why I'm very serious about digital currency. Now, how lovely of him, right? He's here to save the world from poverty. And then he would just drop things like, I travel, read, cook, going out for walks, do analysis of digital currency markets, and he would just casually drop it. By the way, I'm checking markets today. By the way, I'm doing this. By the way, I made money. At the same time, he constantly, literally massaged the topic of learning and helping each other, on every single occasion. So watching out for words like learning, helping each other. So he would say, we can learn a lot from each other. I believe that two heads are better than one. We should learn from each other, and I'm positive that you will get a lot from me, again, bend in reality, so that you can also have the courage to continue on your own, save more money for the future, and then again on another day, and learning new stuff from each other. Every single topic we discuss, ice cream, walking, dating, anything, we learn from each other, because that's what they want their victim to believe. And also he dropped randomly large numbers that he makes, or either his clients or his friends make through that business. So that's constant massage and reinforcing of that narrative. So all of these techniques, right, sometimes they can be obvious, but if they use skillfully, they can be very subtle. And imagine if the victim is wrapped in this constant reassurance of their love, tactical empathy, this togetherness, special uniqueness, bonding, someone who just traps them in this environment 24/7, and uses mirroring. So when it's done consistently, repetitively over time, what it does, amazingly, is it makes new and suspicious look very familiar and safe, normalizing the idea of engaging in shady cryptocurrency trading activities with a complete stranger. So the trick is always repetition, consistency, and volume. So, okay. not jumping ahead, right? So as I said, some of these techniques, they can be obvious depending on who is texting with you, but they can be subtle. And if you don't spot the signs of manipulation early on, it can be too late further down the line. So how can we protect ourselves and our loved ones, and how can you spot it early enough? So a couple more slides. So there are always telltale signs. We all know that, right? We're all sensible, logical people. Just to let you know, again, remind that cognitive biases play this trick on us. Once our emotional thinking is triggered, we throw logic down the drain. But there are a few things, obviously, simple. I'm not going to even go into details. Perfect Mr. and Mrs. profile. They will be too perfect. Good looking, successful, caring, attentive, big mission statement. They care about the world. Just too good. Perfect compatibility, too good to be true. And there is a reason for this. When they constantly use love bombing, mirroring, and tactical empathy, it eliminates any sign of contradiction and conflict. And that makes this relationship feel, or engagement feel like it's so good. We understand each other. We're so perfect for each other. So this is a huge red flag. Well, whether it's a scam or not, it's a huge red flag. Persona inconsistencies. Most often, these are groups of fraudsters. They work together, but they have different lifestyles. They have different communication styles. So if you're not talking them over the phone, there will always be some inconsistencies, most likely in the language. With Daryl, from time to time, his very polished language would change into some mistakes, typos, or he would start calling me hon, baby, sweetie out of blue. And then one morning he would say, I wish you a blessed morning. I pray for you. I was like, oh, spiritual man. So next day I asked him, like, you seem to be spiritual. And his response was, lol, not really, but I believe. So kind of, it feels like there are different people talking to you. But most importantly, it will always be long distance. And it's very likely that at any cost, they will avoid phone video calls or sharing any information that can potentially identify them or locate them. Now, this is a tricky one with AI deepfakes, because this is changing, right? And if you're a high profile target, well, let's say you have high stakes, millions or hundreds of thousands, someone is going to use AI deepfake on you. But this technology is still expensive. So, and for fraudsters, it's all about numbers. So they're not going to be using deepfake, modulating someone's voice and images for every single call. The easiest solution is to avoid those calls. And when confronted, they will just pour reassurance and love and more promises about, like, it's okay, I still love you, baby steps, we're not going to get on a call, but I care about you, and so on. So this is constant reassurance going on there. But most importantly, the last one is sudden changes in behavior. This is a red flag in any situation, especially with fraudsters. If confronted, or when they feel their victim or target is not biting the bait, their behavior can change 180 degrees from that very caring, loving, supportive person to someone who will be very cold, detached, passive-aggressive, cruel, or even aggressive. And that happened. I tested it twice with Daryl when I confronted him. And second time when basically I told him goodbye, baby. So he turned really nasty. But that's not all you can do. You can do more. You can use the same scammer tactics against scammers. So here's the beautiful things that Daryl and co showed me a lot. Scammers do not expect to be scammed. And they also suffer from same cognitive biases, and they're not immune to selective memory, selective attention, flattery, and cognitive biases of certainty and the illusion of certainty and the bias of control. They believe they are in control, and there will always be inconsistencies, because here's a fact. It's really hard to lie consistently over time, especially if it's not just Daryl, but there is a whole company behind him. So you can use, I just listed four simple techniques for how to try and uncover those inconsistencies, dig them in. And you can use them with pretty much any manipulator or liar. So one is try and question, pick a fact and question it over time by changing your type of question, different version of question. For example, like I tested it with spraying off, especially when they give mirror answers to your questions, right? Stuff like, oh, me too, or also. So if you say, I like reading books, and they come back and say, oh, I love reading books too, then in a day or two, ask them, well, how do you like to spend your quiet time? And see what they come back to. So dig for those inconsistencies. Mirror questions. These are really effective in unearthing details that reveal inconsistencies, and it works as such. For example, he says, I love reading books. Your question will be, do you like reading books? And see what they come back with. So that really helps to show some details that they don't plan for in advance. Third one, ambiguous questions. And I love this one. So ask questions that leave room for interpretation. And here is a trick behind it. When we have a certain purpose or goal on our minds, right, we focus on it, it will influence how we interpret ambiguities. So when you ask an ambiguous question, most likely they will respond with what's on their mind. Here is an example. So we were actually flirting here, talking about music, and I asked him, I can't help but ask, what would you like to teach me? So any normal, genuine man would kind of respond with a flirt, right? No, Darryl jumps straight into business. We said we can start off from the cryptocurrency if you're willing to learn the basics and how to trade. So how normal is that? And the last one, label their lies. Tactical labeling, right? If you're not sure something is going on, you need to be able to confront someone. If you're not comfortable confronting, you can message it nicely, use labeling, label what you feel is wrong. So I used that with Darren on day 4 when I needed to say kind of more meaty proof that there is a whole team of scammers. So I basically called it out saying unreal, and I used words unreal, uncomfortable a lot, and I called him out saying, you seem to avoid wanting to make sure I'm real too, and so on and so on. So his response, after days of courting me, being super attentive, he replied, if you feel it's unreal, then feel free and comfortably to delete me. I don't want to force issues anywhere. I'm not the type. Good day. So, that's very different behavior, right? That's not the person who cares. That's a person who just doesn't realizes, oh, she's off the bait. Potentially, we have a problem here. But before we finish, I also want to point out this response is also very tactical. The thing is, these fraudsters usually work with people who have certain emotional trauma experience, certain trauma or wounds, right? And let's say if this conversation has been going on for several weeks or so, so at this point, the target is very likely to develop emotional connection and attachment to this source of reassurance to Darryl. So when you receive such a message that suggests delete and end, we're done, what it does, it may trigger these fears of abandonment and rejection in the person as they realize they might just lose this source of love that they've been subjected to over the last days. And the person is most likely to reply with like, no, I want to stay in this relationship, and so on. And that ties the victim and target even closer to the fraudster. So this is very tactical. And I want to summarize and finish this presentation with a quote from Isaac Asimov's story, Liar. It's a story about the robot who lied to people and the people who believed him because basically he told them what they wanted to hear. He loves you, I tell you. He does. But not here, not now. This is an illusion. And I love this quote because it reminds me that everything is an illusion until it's proven otherwise. Mind is a very powerful thing. Our minds can make us believe anything, especially if we want to believe it. And in this digital age and world, there are always people, and they're getting more of them, and they're getting very technically and psychologically in terms of manipulation tactics educated. They will use it to their advantage, always. So it's our responsibility to train our attention to identify these manipulation tactics early on. And that's it. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I have more snippets from the conversation. There was such meaty, juicy pieces, so I couldn't include them, but I have them on appendix in case you have any questions. Any questions? Okay. I think you were first, actually. Well, okay, you go ahead. Yeah, it actually, when you think about it, it's such an attractive picture of reality, isn't it? And that's exactly what I want you to believe. And that's why I engaged with him, because, initially I had doubts. You can see discrepancies and you also have doubts. And that's our human nature. We're going to pick the most positive, plausible scenario. Because we don't like to be lied, we don't like to be fooled. But it's pretty much, most of you are probably familiar with the concept of zero trust in technology. In this reality, we have to apply the same concept when we deal with people. Until he proves that he's real. And for me, the first abnormality was he didn't want to get on a call or with me. Like, I mean, how real is that? Did he not want to? And I dropped a few lines like, are you not worried that I'm scamming myself? You know, I could be a big fat lady or something like this. Well, I actually study blockchain, so I have quite a big Web3 blockchain cryptocurrency community trading, and that's why I think they jumped onto me, because when he started talking about it, for me, yes, that's the normality. I know lots of people who trade. I know lots of people who work in legitimate blockchain cryptocurrency businesses. So that sparked my interest initially. But when he started talking and presenting about it, that was kind of like things not patching up. And again, so let's say if someone only wants to share what they do with you and their passion, they're not going to massage those topics into you. They're not going to jump to help a stranger. So watch out if someone is so nice that I can teach you, I can learn you. Yeah, every man can say, yeah, I will teach you, I will learn you. He will forget about it because he's not here to teach me about blockchain and cryptocurrency, right? Junior man has different interests in mind. So, yes? What is it? Okay. Sorry, guys. No more tough questions, but I'm still here. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them after another presentation. Thank you.